Hello, Pete's Pax here, and we're back with the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Commander deck, number 3. This is Food and Fellowship, the green, black, white deck. Let's get into this and see what's in here. Okay. As with all of the Lord of the Rings decks, the box is perforated to make it very easy to open without having to cut anything. And most, if not all, of the materials are recyclable. It's very nice. One downside I have found is with this, though, is that the way they pack things, sometimes the booster sample does get bent pretty badly. But you have a collector's booster sample. We will be opening a full set of these in a separate video. Got your deck, spin down life counter, little pamphlet, a themed deck box for each deck, which is very nice. And then a series of 2 half-size tokens, then 10 counters, and a 3rd half-size token, which is very nice. We have a light and dark themed double-sided roll-down counter. It goes from 40 to 1. An insert that has one side a little description about the deck, the overall rules for Commander, and then on the back you have a little blurb about the 2 face commanders. In this case it would be Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit, and Sam, Loyal Attendant. Alright, now let's get into the deck. I'm a little confused as to how this can... Oh, it has partner. Okay. So, Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit is the first face commander, and it does have partner. It does partner specifically with Frodo instead of having open partner like some of the other versions of partner commanders. So, effectively, Sam and Frodo are a single commander, or you can run them separately. We have Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit. Nice foiling on it. For a white and a black, you get a legendary Halfling Scout, 1/3, partner with Sam, Loyal Attendant. Vigilance. When Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit attacks, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, the ring tempts you. If Frodo is your ring bearer and the ring has tempted you 2 or more times this game, draw a card. So, nice little additional mechanic on top of the ring tempt mechanic. Sam, Loyal Attendant. For 1, a green and a white. This one's slightly misprinted. You get a 2/4 legendary Halfling Peasant. Partner with Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit. When this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put Frodo into their hand from their library, then shuffle. That's interesting. Did not know that was actually how the partner mechanic worked. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a food token. Activated abilities of food you control cost 1 less to activate. Whoa. I know that doesn't sound like much, but that actually is really, really powerful. Being able to use food for 1 instead of 2 makes a very big difference. Alright, then we have some reprints from LTR. We have Eagles of the North, nice Plane Cycler, Landreval Horizon Witness, Rosy Cotton of South Lane, which is a really big food enabler. There's Shire Sheriff, Mirkwood Bats. From the sealed event, learned that this is very powerful with food tokens. You can drain a lot from your opponents with that. Generous Ent, If I'd known this would have been a lot easier. I just pulled a generous cent for a good friend of mine that wanted to borrow a set, so I just pulled them from this. We have a new border, or a new version of Path to Exile. Very nice. Pretty much everyone knows what Path to Exile does by now, but it's for a single white, you get an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller may search through the library for a basic land, put that card into play tapped, then shuffle. So this is quite possibly the second best removal spell ever printed in white. The best, of course, being Swords to Plowshares. Speaking of which, Swords to Plowshares. Single white, instant exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. We have Revive the Shire, which is a reprint from LTR, along with Butterbur, Bree Innkeeper. So don't really need to cover those. We have Crypt Incursion. 2 and a black, instant. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. And it's a common. Wait, this is just a reprint. I say, if this is a new card, that could be amazing and Pauper, but I realize this is actually just a reprint. We have Go for the Throat. Nice, we have a new Go for the Throat. I will probably be swapping out the ones I've been using in Standard for these. 1 and a black, instant. It's a Doomblade that hits non-artifacts, but destroy target non-artifact creature. Knight's Whisper. Very nice. 1 and a black sorcery, you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. We have Cultivate. 2 and a green, sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal them, put 1 in your hand, 1 on the battlefield tapped. Essence Warden. Very nice. This is one of the Soul Sisters. Of course, the other being Soul Warden. But for a single green, you get a 1/1 Elf Shaman. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Farseek. This was fantastic in the original Ravnica. This actually hits duels as well, which is a very powerful effect. But for 1 and a green, sorcery, search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Basically Rampant Growth that hits duels. So very powerful. Great Oak Guardian, 5 and a green, for a 4/5 tree folk with flash and reach. When it enters the battlefield, target creature or creature's target player controls gets +2/+2 until end of turn, untap them. So this can be used offensively or defensively. Very nice. Harmonize. Oh, that's just fantastic. I love the art on that. But 2 green, sorcery, draw 3 cards. Orchard Strider, which one of the few just straight draw cards in green. Orchard Strider, 4 green for a 6/4 tree folk. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens, and then it has basic land cycling for 1 and a green. Prosperous Innkeeper, more recent reprint. 1 and a green for a 1/1 halfling citizen. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Shire Terrace, that's reprinted from LTR. Tireless Provisioner, 2 and a green for a 3/2 Elf Scout. With landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token or a treasure token. Very nice. Mortify. 1 white and a black instant, destroy target creature or enchantment. Originally from Ravnica. Actually, was it Ravnica or was... No, this was originally in Guild Pact, I believe. Yes, it was originally in Guild Pact. Putrefy was in Ravnica. Savvy Hunter, 1 black and a green, for a 3/3 human warrior. Whenever it attacks or blocks, create a food token, sacrifice 2 foods, draw a card. So with all the other things that create food, that can be a very powerful draw engine. Arcane Signet, we all know what this does by now, but this is a new art for it. Mana Rock for your colors, for your commander's color identity. Commander Sphere, same thing, but for 3 mana, and you can sack it to draw a card. Pristine Talisman. Ooh, nice version of this. But 3 mana rock, the test for colorless, and when you do, you gain a life. The very nice new version of Soul Ring. We all know what that does by now. Field-tested frying pan. Oh, that's funny. 2 and a white for an equipment. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token, then create a 1/1 white halfling creature token and attach field-tested frying pan to it. Equipped creature has, whenever you gain life, this creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained. Very nice. And it has equipped too. The Gaffer, 2 and a white for a 2/3 legendary halfling peasant. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. It's very powerful. Quahir, Greatest of the Eagles, 4 and a white for a 5/5 legendary bird noble with flying. When it attacks, target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white bird creature token with flying, and whenever this creature attacks, target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. See, this is why the Eagles could have just completely solved the Fellowship of the whole getting the ring to the volcano, but it's fine. Of Herbs and Rabbit Stew, and Stewed Rabbit, rather. Saga for 2 and a white with 3 chapters. Chapter 1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, create a food token. Chapter 2, draw a card, create a food token. Chapter 3, create a 1/1 white halfling creature token for each food you control. I don't understand why this wasn't in the base set. This would have been fantastic. Then we have Gollum, Obsessed Stalker, 1 and a black for a 1/1 halfling horror, or legendary halfling horror with Skulk, which means can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent dealt combat damage this game by a creature named Gollum, Obsessed Stalker, loses life equal to the amount of life you gained this turn. This game. So you hit each opponent once, and then whenever you gain life for the rest of the game, they lose that much life at the end of each turn. That's crazy. As long as Golem's still around. Lobelia, Defender of Bag End. For 2 and a black, you get a 2/2 legendary halfling citizen. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top card of each opponent's library and exile those cards face down. Tap, sacrifice an artifact, choose one. Until end of turn, you may play a card exiled with Lobelia without paying its mana cost, or each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Rapacious Guest. 2 and a black for a 2/2 halfling citizen with menace. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food, put a +1/+1 counter on Rapacious Guest. And whenever Rapacious Guest leaves the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to its power. Note that says leaves the battlefield, not dies. So if this gets exiled, it happens. If this gets bounced, that happens. So on and so on. So if you have a way of repeatedly flickering this, you can do a lot of damage. Well, a lot of loss of life. Assemble the Entmoot. 3 and a green. For an enchantment, creatures you control have reach. Sacrifice a Assemble the Entroot. Create 3 tapped XX green treefolk creature tokens, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Put a reach counter on each of them. Feasting Hobbit. 1 and a green for a 2/2 halfling citizen. Devour Food 3. So they reprinted the Devour mechanic, but they made it specific to food. As this enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of food. This creature enters the battlefield with 3 times that many +1/+1 counters on it. Creatures with power less than Feasting Hobbit's power can't block it. This thing can become very large very quickly. Even with 1 food, this is a 5/5 for 2. That's pretty significant. Motivated Pony, 4 and a green for a 3/3 horse. With trample and haste. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. If a food entered the battlefield under your control this turn, untap those creatures and they gain an additional +2/+2 until end of turn. So, when this attacks, it basically gives a pseudo overrun to all of your creatures, which is very cool. Prize Pig, 1 and a green for a 0/3 boar. Whenever you gain life, put that many ribbon counters on Prize Pig. Then if there are 3 or more ribbon counters on Prize Pig, remove those counters and untap it. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. That could produce a lot of life. Very easily. Or not life, but mana, very easily. Banquet Guests, X green-white for 0/0 halfling citizen, affinity for food. Let me read that again. Affinity for food. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each food you control. Trample. Banquet Guest enters with twice X +1/+1 counters on it. 2. Sacrifice the food. Banquet Guest gains indestructible until end of turn. What? So you turn out a bunch of food, and then you are probably just going to pay a green and a white for something huge that you can just make indestructible over and over again. That's crazy. Bilbo, Birthday Celebrant, white, black, green. So Bilbo goes from being the retired burglar, which is blue-red, to the Birthday Celebrant, which is white, black, green. Why is Bilbo all 5 colors? But for 3 mana, you get a 2/3 legendary halfling rogue. If you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. And then 2 white, black, green. Tap, exile Bilbo, Birthday Celebrant. Search your library for any number of creature cards. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Only activate only if you have 111 or more life. Oh, okay, that. Fuck. I have a feeling that this is the secret commander of the deck. To a degree. Farmer Cotton. X green-white for a 1/1 legendary halfling peasant. When it enters the battlefield, create X 1/1 white halfling creature tokens and X food tokens. So this plus your other things, or the Banquet Guests, just wow. That's some interesting synergy there. 1 Mary, Warden of Isengard, 1 green-white for a 1/4 legendary halfling advisor. Partner with Pippin, Warden of Isengard. Whenever 1 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay. Oh, looks like you can have another set of potential commanders for this. Pippin, Warden of Isengard, black-green for a 2/2 legendary halfling advisor. Why is he black-green? I guess just to make the pairing work? 1 and tap, create a food token. It has partner with Mary, Warden of Isengard. 1 and tap, create a food token. Tap, sacrifice 4 food. Other creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Interesting. Treebeard, Gracious Host. 2 green and a white. Why this doesn't have, why this doesn't have partner. The others, I'll never know. But you get a 0/5 legendary Tree Folk with Trample and Ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens. Whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on target halfling or Tree Folk. Very nice. Pithlane Rope, 2-mana artifact. It can't be sacrificed. That has some interesting things that could cause it to backfire. 1 and tap it. Search your library for a basic land, put onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. The player to your right gains control of Pithlane Rope. 2 tap, draw a card. The player on your right gains control of Pithlane Rope. Okay. Huh. Not sure how I feel about that. Call for Unity. 3 white enchantment, Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, put a Unity counter on Call for Unity. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each Unity counter on Call for Unity. Interesting. Huh. It just could get very, very large very quickly. Dawn of Hope, 1 and a white. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. 3 and a white, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Very nice overall. Dusk to Dawn. So 2 white, sorcery, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, and then you have Dawn, which is Aftermath, which means it can only be cast from your graveyard. But 3 white, return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Alright, Fell the Mighty. 4 and a white, sorcery, destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. Okay. We'll Fumigate. 3 white, sorcery. This was originally in Kaladesh, if I remember correctly. But it was the board wipe of choice for 2 years, basically. 3 white, sorcery, destroy all creatures. You gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. Mentor the Meek. 2 and a white for a 2/2 human soldier. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. You can get very silly very fast. Sanguine Bond. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. 3 black for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. With how much food is being made in this deck and all the triggers for it, that could get very strong very quickly. Toxic Deluge. Nice reprint. This has needed a reprint for a while. 2 and a black, sorcery. It's an additional cost to cast a spell, pay X life. All creatures get -X until end of turn. Oh, that is a beautiful version of birds. Birds of Paradise. This is why you bolt the bird. But for a single green, you get a 0/1 bird with flying and tap, add 1 mana of any color. And we get the Gilded Goose. The goose is loose. Honk. It's got a carrot. But for a green, you get a 0/2 bird with flying. So, slightly bigger but than Bird of Paradise. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token. 1 and a green, tap it, create a food. Tap and sacrifice a food, add 1 mana of any color. So you give up consistent mana production for food production, but can also potentially make mana. Woodfall Primus, great card that is still in the Vintage Cube. Fantastic reanimation target, but for 5 green, you get a 6/6 Treefolk Shaman with Trample. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-creature permanent, and then has Persist. It would die, and it has no -1/-1 counters on it. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. Now keep in mind, with -1/-1 counters, if you put a +1/+1 counter on it, they negate each other, so the 2 counters are removed. It used to be that you had to track them individually, but they simplified that back in Planar Chaos. Right, Anguished Unmaking. 1 white-black, instant, exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Pretty simple there. Chromatic Lantern, one of the best mana fixers of all time. You get a 3-mana mana rock that says lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, and it taps for 1 mana of any color. Trading Post. I always felt that Trading Post should have had a clause to untap it, but I know a lot of people would disagree with me on that. It's a 4-mana artifact with 1 in tap, discard a card, gain 4 life. 1 in tap, pay a life, create a 0/1 white goat creature token. 1 in tap, sacrifice a creature, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, and 1 in tap, sacrifice an artifact, draw a card. So, fun stuff there. Well of Lost Dreams, 4-mana artifact. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do, draw X cards. Great way with all of the life gain that we have to draw a bunch of cards. We have Brushland, the green-white Painland, Canopy Vista, the Tango Land, or the Forest Plains Tango Land, Exotic Orchard, taps for any color and opponent controls, Fortified Village, it's the Peak Land for Forest and Plains, Isolated Chapel, the Buddy Land for White-Black, Meringue Bosque, Forest that also is a black-white Painland. So, fun one there. Necroblossom Snarl, it's the green-black Snarl. Scattered Groves, it's the Cycling Duel for green-white rather. Shadowshine Snarl, the black-white Snarl. Sunpetal Grove, the green-white Buddyland, Buddyland. God, that is just beautiful art for that. Woodland Cemetery, the green-black Buddyland. Access Tunnel, it's slightly better Rogue's Passage, in this deck at least. Ash Barrens, that is nice to know that we have an extra set of these. It's a Pauper All-Star, taps for colorless, but also has basic land cycling for 1. So great color fixer in Pauper. Command Tower, we all know what that does. Evolving Wilds, fetches basics into play tapped. Ghost Quarter. Oh, I love that they reprinted Ghost Quarter like this. That's such a good art. Closest thing to Strip Mine that they've ever reprinted. Lets you destroy a land, and then its controller searches for a basic, puts it in the battlefield. If you have a way of getting it back, you can just keep blowing up lands, which is great. Grey Pelt Refuge, enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, gain a life. Taps for a white and a green. Path of Ancestry, enters the battlefield tapped. Taps for anything in your commander's color identity, and if it's spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. We have actual Rogue's Passage. Nice new art on that. Nice new art on all of these, actually. Sandstep Citadel, it's one of the Khan's wedges, specifically the Abzan one. Scoured Barrens, the tap land that gains a life for white-black. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 plains. 1, 2, 3, 4 swamps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 forests. And we have the standee for Frodo. I don't know why they didn't do one of these for Sam as well, since they do have partner. We have 3 tree folk tokens that are also food tokens. We have 3 bird tokens that are a food and 2 goats. So 1 is a food, 2 of them are goats. Then we have 2 soldier tokens. They're also food tokens. We have 2 treasure tokens that are halflings. Very nice. Then we have the ring with the ring tempts you on the back. And a turn order reminder card. Very nice. I love the reprints in this, especially the lands. This should give access to quite a few things to a lot of players. I'm a little bummed that it doesn't have Land of War Wastes in it. kind of like with the lack of Shivan Reef in the Mordor deck. I think what they were doing is they didn't want to reprint in-universe cards that didn't thematically fit with Lord of the Rings, which is, I mean, that's a cool design decision, and I understand them doing that, but I do kind of wish that they had done a special named version of those cards, just so that we didn't have part of the set. Like, this also didn't have Caves of Koilos. So, but from what I remember from the other ones that have been in here, I think they just did the original 5 Pain Lands. It could be way off on that though. Because this one had which one did this have? It had Brushland, right? It said Brushland did not have Land of War Waste or the other one. Yeah, it just had, or Caves of Koilos. It just had Brushland. It had Isolated Chapel. Did it have the cemetery? Yeah, it had Woodland Cemetery and Sun Petal Grove. So that's interesting. Yeah, a lot of great paths to upgrade on this. I would consider Tireless Tracker in this to help with your production. Academy Manufacturer, I think is the name of it. The one that when you create a food, treasure, or clue, it creates the other two as well. That I could see that really going well in here. Underworld Cookbook, along with Oval Chase Daredevil, could be useful in this. Samwise Gamgee and the cat from Cat Oven, along with Witch's Oven, could be useful in this. There's a whole lot of different synergies that you could play into here. And then, of course, your normal, green packages like Green Sun Zenith, Genesis Wave, stuff like that could be useful in this. Yeah, I think this is a good starting point for a lot of stuff, and it's just overall pretty good value, but something to consider. All right, well, thank you for joining me on this adventure through Middle-earth. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. This is the best way to help out the channel in a non-monetary fashion. If you'd like to also help out in a monetary fashion, we do have a Patreon that is linked in our About page. So if that's something that interests you, check it out. Gives you access to some really cool stuff, like our members-only Discord, shout-outs at the end of videos, and higher levels also have like coaching sessions, stuff like that. So it's out there if you want to help. If not, don't forget to like, share, and comment, and all that good stuff, because that also helps. Yeah, as always, until next time, stay awesome, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.